Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful day of VALORANT Challengers North America Stage 2. This whole week has been an absolute blast. The sun is shining. It's a great day to be inside watching some VALORANT. My name is Sarah Dawn, be your host for today, and the casters. Well, we have Van Silly back, and now we have I Hold Shift as well. Shift, how are you doing, friend?
I'm great. Feeling very tropical, very flowery. Also, I kind of feel like I have to match your energy here and get one shoulder off. So I'm going to do a little bit of that too. We're having a good time. I'm having fun.
Vance, I don't think that's allowed over there. You don't have a shirt underneath, but you're definitely been a little silly with it. Been here all days this week. How are you doing? I know the watch parties as well.
Yeah.
Between this and that, you're not getting much sleep.
At least outside, it's looking nice. So everybody's trying to get a 10. So I'm doing a monitor 10. So I don't know why my lighting's back at like I'm red again like a tomato. But you know, I'm trying to catch the vibes. I'm trying to catch the vibes that we have on today.
You got to set up the computer in front of the open window so you can get the rays and also be envious as well of the beautiful weather and not being at the beach. As much as Shift outfit definitely makes you think that you could be. But we have some VALORANT to talk about, and it has been a fun week. Looking back at the schedule, I didn't know what to expect out of Stage 2 other than, hey, it is going to be a fun time over here in Vans. It definitely has been. Some of these games have been so close. There's been a little upsets. It's been a great time.
There's been some upsets, definitely. Some games that always went to distance. There's some teams that went out with new comps, or that came out with new comps as well, and that surprises coming through, and it was super fun to watch. I think YFP versus SAT was a really nice one, despite it being 2-0. Again, that was one of the close games. We saw some composition copying, I guess, because there was a little bit of Turtle Troop action going on. You know, shout out to them. But yeah, it's been super fun so far.
And of course, for the final day of the week, we're going to be focusing on TSM going up against Berlin to be kicking things off. Core Turtle Troop will be later on. So, are you good? You good? You need some sunglasses over there, Vance. Damn. Okay.
You asked me to put it next to the window, dude. This is the window now.
Well, you find some sunglasses. We'll start talking about one of the first teams that we have up for the day and talk a little bit more about TSM, because Shift coming into the stage, TSM, first it's Norg that has the name behind them, then looking down at the players on the team, definitely more so. This team is stacked, even if they're not quite putting up the top dog spots that maybe they would have liked so far in Stage 1.
That was the big point, right? I think, you know, the way we categorized their group in particular was like, who wanted to be the second best team in their group? And for TSM, I think a lot of eyes were sitting on them in particular saying, yeah, okay, you had a rough opener, you had to play M80 to start, but then you came off of 2 straight wins, and it's looking like, yeah, these guys are going to be the number 2 team in the group. But then they lose to Troop, they lose to SAD, and then, of course, they didn't get out of the first round when they played in the Midseason Cup. So it's just one of those teams that I think just based off the team name on paper, the roster name on paper, you expect them to be a heavy hitter. It just comes down to, I don't feel like they're living out their potential yet, and this stage has to kind of be a clean slate for them to try to reprise what the team has done in the past, at least as organizational names have gone.
Yeah, and I think if you're also trying to catch up and getting a little bit of a storyline around TSM at the same time, despite the results that you may see in the records on like VLR or whatever, the gameplay for TSM is still looking pretty good. I'm keeping an eye out on GMD. GMD's back at IGL in this roster. They're looking pretty good. They took it to the distance against M80, even though that they lost in that first round that they were able to play against M80. They made it fairly close and competitive and almost got the upset there. And that's, again, not only on great calling for GMD, but is also following that same storyline that we've been seeing in 2024 when you have like a controller fragging IGL or just a fragging IGL in general, and he's able to direct the young guns like Seven, like Sim, and do very well as a core, which is why, again, I'm always going to be, well, at least for now, rooting for TSM in a sense that they're still my dark horse going into Stage 2, because despite the results that you may see on screen, it's still a net improvement from what we've seen from Stage 1 when it comes down to the macro that they're currently bringing to the table.
And we know that this team has the firepower, they have the IGLing, they have everything else. So going into Stage 2, I think there's a lot to be excited about, especially too, pulling up this series of tweet coming out originally, a proto with the first one to be kicking it off, talking about hey, happiest I've been in a long time, and Baby Bay getting in there. But if this is about the scrims fan, I think there definitely is a lot to be excited about this team, more so going forward. And I'm looking forward to a complete turnaround looking at that scoreline here in Stage 2.
And if you've been keeping an eye on the predictions of what's been going on in Shanghai for Masters, Baby Bay has been on point with the predictions, at least in the playoffs for the last 2 days, where people didn't believe in G2, people didn't believe in Heretics against EDG, and there you go, he's just popping off. So if he's also having a feeling that, oh, looks like the scrims have been good here for TSM, I think the vibes have been good for TSM overall. I mean, you should check that thread. There's been some cool jokes going on between those three, but if not overall, if those vibes are continuing forward with a core like TSM, with a group that's been, you know, on the highest and lowest right now for Stage 1 up to the MSC of Challengers, and it's looking better now, I think there's only improvement that's going to continue from there. So I'm really looking forward for the game against Blinn.
I mean, the Proto's always brought some vibes out here to the games.
If not the shots.
Well, we got to look back a little bit of what he was able to be showing us here in the first stage and the mid-season cup, and compare this to somebody who we haven't gotten to see here in Stage 1 with the newly promoted team coming out from Blid. Compare him to Mikey here, Shift, because Bone's been doing a lot, but Mikey's also impressed in that first match we saw in the mid-season cup.
You know, we talked about this as well, Zach, in Season 1, or Stage 1 rather, kind of leading into the season with VCT. It's just, you know, we're in this place where controllers and sentinels are really starting to take the spotlight away from just duelists. You know, that's kind of been the storyline generally over the course of the last couple of years. And, well, now we're in this kind of new meta where being able to be a lockdown player and be an island player where your team could trust you to go 1v multiple and come away with a couple has always been kind of a huge success story, especially for a player like a Proto. I think largely we all look at him and say, historically, he may be one of the best sentinel players to have graced the North American scene over the course of the last 4 years or whatever it happens to be. But on the other side for Blinn, they're finding success in similar ways, looking at what Mike's been able to do for them. So it'll be a really interesting battle to see kind of the new guy up versus the long storied player on the other side.
Yeah, and even for Mikey, maybe it's the first time that we're kind of seeing him, or maybe the second time if you've been following a little bit of the MSC and looking at the watch parties with Sean Garris. But, you know, it may seem like a new name for a lot of people watching the stream right now, but Mikey's been around the scene for quite a long time in that Tier 2 scene, right? And during the offseason, he played with Core already, was trying out for that team. He had a couple of stints and matches with TTR at the same time. So you're looking at teams that are actually established that are scouting a player like Mike and giving him a chance. And now that Blinn picked him up in the collegiate scene, them as a group have been looking really good overall during, for example, CVAL, and Mikey in general has been a stronghold in terms of a sentinel role overall. So I think this is going to be very good to watch. Not only keep an eye on like a star duelist like Okeanos, but looking to see how overall this roster is going to be looking and looking to compete overall.
Especially, too, with this Blinn Esports roster. Exactly that. You've been following Tier 2. The mid-season cup's only really the first time we've gotten to see this roster as a whole, but Shift, if you've been following collegiate, I mean, this team has been putting in their reps. They're actually going on a run right now in CVAL. Like, there is a lot here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what stipulated it, but they did have a forfeit loss in their first round of the CVAL championships. But since that point, they have been in lower round 1, lower round 2, lower round 3. Now they're in the lower finals, and they have been destroying teams in the CVAL championships, let alone the fact that they really impressed during their relegation promotion tournament and their ability, I think we're going to talk about it a lot, to take a good team 3 maps in their mid-season cup premiere. The other interesting thing about it, and it's interesting to kind of, I think, label now, especially after Winthrop won earlier this week, is technically speaking, like in the college Valorant space, Blinn is one of the top 3 teams on the rankings every single season. So technically speaking, these guys should be better than Winthrop in a lot of people's minds that follow CVAL. So it's really cool, I think, to see the collegiate space getting an extra source of income now when it comes down to their ability to compete at a high level, not just from the championships, but now here also in Challengers.
I also think that when you're looking at even 2023 till now, like there was a powerhouse with Northwood University just like winning everything, but you're definitely starting to see a net improvement and upward trajectory in the results of Winthrop University and Blinn. So to see both of those collegiate teams now in Challengers, you're starting to see the development of the collegiate scene and how much it brings value for an opportunity for these teams to make it to Challengers. And also when you're looking at this B-roll currently from Zippo, it also shows here overall that they brought TTR to the distance during the MSC as their debut game going into the stage 2 because they made it through the play-ins. And TTR also made it to the grand finals against Oxygen Esports. So it shows right now that it's not it's not luck. It's not a fluke. They have a system in place, and now we have a chance to witness it against TSM. And if you look at the conversation with myself and Roy was mentioning that Blinn is going to be potentially the dark horse of stage 2, alongside me thinking that it's going to be TSM. So it's going to be the battle of the dark horses today.
And someone that we got to see a lot of in that mid-season cup debut, the Challengers debut here, was Okeanos, because this duelist play coming on Outshift, honestly, he was popping off. Someone that right away was like, okay, we need to watch a little bit more going on in Challengers with him and going up against some of these top teams, because he already was kind of paving a way for the team.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that this is not an unfamiliar space for Okeanos. He did play last year in North American Challengers with the Squirtle Squad and Turtle Troop. So, I mean, there is some familiarity with being in this level of competition. I think just looking at the names on paper, you would argue that he is the most veteran when it comes to playing at a higher level besides just the collegiate space. It does feel like there may have been some sort of a move where the Pirates out of Blinn were like, yo, let's see if we can get this guy on scholarship or something, get him into the collegiate time as well. So yeah, I think that for Okeanos, it's been a great debut for him. I'm sure it feels great to be back into the space and finding, at least until this point, some success. So hopefully try to start off this stage 2 on the right foot for him.
Well, let's see if Blinn just in general can be kicking it off on the right foot, because they definitely have a worthy opponent ahead of them in TSM. But the first step always is getting past the map picks and bans. Heading into this series, it's going to be Blinn's pick, and Vans kicking us off on Bind.
Okay, but I'm actually more intrigued about the middle one, being Breeze. Actually, the 2 last maps are really awesome because Breeze is technically TSM's best map. I think they said it themselves. I had a chance to speak with GMD and also with Fate, the coach, back in LA when they were visiting and watching VCTs, and they were saying, yeah, we love to play Breeze. We love to keep it in there. So to have Lotus being banned, because it's usually their go-to after Breeze is banned, then it actually works out in the favor of TSM to maybe guarantee one map in the series. Even though if they lost against M80, they took it into overtime, took it into the distance. Then we get into Split, where they're both actually really good on this map, although it is the main pick for Blinn Esports and all of their results and all the positive results they've been getting now going into the Challengers scene. So really, it's going to have to come down to buying it in the first place to see who's going to take this one, and it might potentially be a 2-0 if it's going to be TSM.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think TSM's going to feel right at home with this map selection pool. They hadn't really had a lot of time to play much Bind, but they did play a pretty solid game versus YFP. I think it's also important to note that this Bind composition is going to look very similar between both these two teams. We're likely going to see a Gecko in the mix here for both of them. So there will be a level of, if it is a mirror matchup, execution is going to be really where we draw the line between these two squads. I think preparation is going to be pretty laid out in front of you. TSM obviously tweeting about great results, but you have a lot of things to look back on if you are Blinn in preparation for this match. Going into map number 1 being your map selection, they have to feel really good about this Bind pick as well.
And I mean, TSM, Scrim's going well, which is definitely glad to hear, but it's going to be the right here, right now that more so matters. And looking back to all the reps that Blinn has been getting in this collegiate space with this run, I mean, Bind is a really well-practiced map for them, Van. So they're definitely, I don't think they're going to be caught off guard necessarily. I'm just curious then how the firepower and how like the individual skill stacks up with the squads.
100%. And it's also on TSM's side too to know the prep that they have to do against Blinn at this point, because Blinn, yes, it's a comfort pick for them, but it's also, yes, they're going to have a Gecko on both ends potentially. But what's important is also that you have Blinn playing a KO usually on this map as well. And KO is usually not an agent that you use too much on a map like Bind, but we'll have to pay attention to see if that's going to force them to fight a little bit more as a unit and if TSM could be ready for that.
Well, we're expecting something that's kind of similar coming out from both squads. Let's go confirm it, though. Agent Select is ready. It's time to head over to our first map of Bind.
Ooh, this could be a good one. I think you hit it on the head as well, Van Silly, when it comes down to TSM, you know, really finding more favor in map 2, map 3. I mean, it's not going to be an unfamiliar map set at all for Blinn. They've played, their map fluency across CVAL and their promotion tournament was very wide. So, you know, their preparation does look like it's pretty darn good, but like we said, this is the expected mirror matchup. We're going to get it. So not only did we have the ability of kind of comparing certain, particular players to one another, now we just get to see raw out who just executes better on the same comp.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of maybe this triple group between like Teague, Monsi, and Okeanos right now on the just working together in tandem, whether it's on the defense or on the attack, because they want to try to fight through any Viper walls that are coming up, any smokes that are coming through, so they could run the double smokes and micro scale back into the site retakes or into even site takeovers when they're going to take the attack side. So that's why I'm trying to figure out here from TSM side, are they going to be ready to figure out this type of play style, where these three players are going to be? And that's going to rely a lot of information here on Poise, because he's playing this guy. He could get some deep flashes just to try to get contacts on good timings, and which is why it's nice also to at least have 7 in the comp as a Gecko, so that hopefully they get some sort of extra scan if they're going to do double flashes themselves to do peaks.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because for Blinn, there is a level of like, not really there being a chip on your shoulder, but you've got the ability of kind of shrugging off your first Challengers event, because it was a midseason cup. You went up against a team that ended up obviously being in the grand finals, but you played them close. In particular on this map, went to overtime. 12-14 was the loss. And then you fast forward a week or so, and they play it in their lower round run that they've been playing in CVAL championships, and they have been dominating teams. SGSU Blue 13-3, Fisher Falcons 13-6. So same composition, same ideas, just maybe a little bit cleaner on the execution, maybe some things learned about what they had to do against that Turtle Troop squad when they were playing at the MSC. So yeah, it's definitely one of those maps that feels like it'll be right at home for Blinn, but they will be starting on the defense first. So TSM get to kind of set the tone, so to speak, in terms of how they want to open up this series.
Yeah, and right now it seems like they're defaulting a lot here for TSM, a 3-1-1, leaving B-Long open. So, and you're seeing a full kit from GMD. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to come back towards the A side after working the map a bit and try to play that Brimstone lineup from that short A side. But after that first flash on contact towards the showers, they've realized that there is some pressure coming in from Blinn, so they have to figure out where the weak side could be. And you're also playing agents that can't do it, so you have to start peeking here. And a Proto does get first contact onto a KO all over the A side heaven.
Yeah, that guiding light should have seen just about everyone stacked up over towards showers. So now you've got the dog in over towards B. Defensive wall does go up, predicting this hit timing. Spaz does well to kind of get that going. Dizzy will make his way in towards the site, though. TSM follow right behind it. Right on in towards site. 7 going for an immediate plant. It's going to have to be a 5v5 retake.
Yeah, and now this Molly is probably not going to be used for a lineup and more for delay into the spawn. Now that you're seeing a nice being thrown out, one of them got contact. Already another smoke's going to be refreshed towards the spawn, and this is the importance of the flashes coming through. But that Molly is just being thrown down. That's going to delay even longer here, the retake from Blinn.
Well, they are still waiting on this Dizzy to come through. Sim, once again, just congesting the front door. Okeanos trying to flood through, but just nothing to find here through these brim smokes. Extra nades, finding damage. Here comes the flash push, though. Blinn able to find one on the re-entry. 4v4, time becoming a bit of an issue here, though. Blinn will have to go, and it will be the wingman to step on in. A couple of kills for TSM. Can they get the wingman off? Yeah. He gets it to halfway, but GMD will come through, knife it to make sure no one else is on. One more check will do it, and TSM will take the pistol.
And that's where it gets dangerous too, right? Why you want a wingman in your composition, just dropping the smoke, getting the wingman out. People are going to have to be stressed out that they have to try to take down the wingman because he's going to stick the full defuse. That means you have more bodies out in the open that could catch these opponents off guard, that could catch TSM on these swings. But thankfully there you saw that before the pressure came through of GMD throwing out the knife, they still got the kill onto the wingman and one off time. So that's a great start here for TSM. Good audible cue, a good audible call as well, identifying where the weak side was. There was only one player playing the defensive side, which was Spaz here towards his B site, which allowed then TSM to really flood in with the speed. And they're continuing with the speed in the second round, already trying to deny orb on long B to start, where there's only 2 players there to start for Blinn's side. And for them, all classics. Trying to bait out the shots here from the tap. But yeah, this is going to be difficult here for Blinn to capitalize on the orb.
Lots of intel, though. That's maybe the more important part here. A couple extra shots from Sim, just to double check, just to see. But this Brimstone smoke was defensively placed, and without that being there to be replaced, now you essentially have to just hold over this corner. But TSM seemed to be also thinking here, Vans, like, hey, we did take a lot of shots. We need to feel things out beyond just what's at here at B-Long.
And that's towards back at short side, because really, while they're doing all this pressure towards this long B, they're just trying to make sure that there's no aggressive pushes coming in on the other side, right? So you're baiting shots, you're trying to see on the defensive side. They need to find information themselves. They want to figure out there's a stack somewhere for Blinn, but Blinn's playing this map way too passively, which gives a chance right now for TSM to just take control of the front side of A and to just get these weapons and get these kills with the weaponry advantage until Sim falls, though.
Yeah, Mike able to at least hold on to U-Haul position. The wingman also denied, so maybe
left.
a chance to get a couple of kills here. Little high-low stack just inside the U-Haul, but boys, backs off, waits for help. 3 straight kills come through, and TSM clean things up, only dropping Sim on the initial plant attempt. Pretty darn clean, I think, is the overall consensus of how we would explain that second round.
And what's good for Blinn, at least, is that they have great utility to deny plant. This is the normal stuff. You see the snake bites coming on the ground. You see the paint shells, too. And it delays even more to allow Blinn to, like, group up together. And you've noticed here on how TSM worked that site, this is twice in a row that there's been heavy pressure from Blinn up towards Showers, which then if TSM wants to continue to try to go for these fights towards the A side, they have to have these late lurks or make sure that Blinn doesn't have full Showers control. And it's looking to be the case to start, though. You see this flash coming through. They're on the 4-1 to start. It does get contact on the aggressive entry, and there's a snake bite. So you're starting to see this fight coming out.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those things when you look at both these two compositions. You saw it from TSM standpoint of we get the zone and you're not getting back into sight. Where on the flip side, Blinn needs to find the timing of when they want to try to congest the zones with their own utility. Guiding light over the top, wingman going to give it a go for the plant on the second attempt. Okeanos thinking about trying to make a play over towards U-Haul. Defense is still not fully rotated yet. They've done well to keep the spike from being planted. This is good delay here from the side of Blinn.
100%, and GMD already used 3 of his smokes instantly when they're trying to hit the site, but they're popping and fighting towards the back.
Mike also following up in the corner. It's just down to a Proto, and he is stuck on stack. Absolutely nowhere to go here. Just a Bulldog to fight with half HP, and Blinn, good patience. I mean, they tried to execute on that in round number 1. Didn't have the ability to do it in round number 2, but here with weapons, absolutely chef's kiss.
And you saw here how good Blinn and how controlled they are in terms of reacting under that pressure. You're dropping these smokes down. This is 20 seconds for the Brimstone. What happens here? You have a counter molly being thrown by Mike inside that site. And that's what, 7 seconds that's delayed. So you saw that it was baited out at the beginning from 7 with a tap on that spike. And then once he's trying to bring the wingman, what gets thrown? We have paint shells. It denies it once again. And once TSM is finally ready to go for a hit, all those smokes are gone. So Blinn has full control of how they want to work the crossfire setup and have a tremendously beautiful hold to start things off here in their gun round. And it was a strong round that they won because they keep the economy very strong and the weaponry very strong in round number 4.
Okay, we got a really forward poison cloud here from the defense of Spaz. Dizzy over the top also reveals a bit of information in terms of how much TSM pressure is over through B-Long. But as the smoke will fade, Dizzy will get charged back up, go again, and we'll just keep juggling. And TSM are going to have to kind of find a window here. If they do want to make a push through B-Long, you may have to wait for one more Dizzy throw and then go. But the problem is where exactly... Oh, that's a huge flash tonight. Wait a second, that guiding light doesn't really get as much value as maybe you were thinking it would. 2 for 1 goes the exchange. 7 trying to force the plan, and TSM able to battle back, but not enough. Monzi really well done, finds the final 2. No worry for the defuse.
The beauty of the double flash to try to get in for TSM, but they were so focused on trying to take down the player that retreated towards the elbow. So you kind of just are a little bit angry that the smoke was a little bit too much inside the B site instead of deeper towards the elbow, so that maybe they could catch that player off guard, which I'm pretty sure was Monsi at the beginning here. He broke that Dizzy, so they can't scan where he's at. He's able to retreat, and while the rest of the team are keeping them busy towards this B site, he just runs in for that kill. And that's a great round once again, a great hold for Blinn, and great protocols as well. When it comes down to one's under pressure, you're going to swing out from the left side, keep them busy, and then just don't be afraid to fight. And this is what I'm loving as well for a team like Blinn. It's their first official game now in stage 2. They're currently 0 points in the standings, yet they're still playing like they're veterans now in the collegiate scene or in the challenger scene, and not afraid to swing out and fight.
Yeah, the composure is something that I think can really...
That's the word I've been looking for 3 rounds. Composure.
Got you, brother. It's just one of those things, like a collegiate team in particular, like there's a lot of stress on this.
Yes.
Not the first one's out, and well, the Outlaw says, draw, brother. Okeanos able to find the first one, no worries. TSM been stuck, and Okeanos will punish him for it. Dizzy denied largely by the smoke, placed over towards mid. Even the Sheriff on the inside. Okeanos 4 in the round. Flawless for Blinn.
That guy is just DMing this time, man. I don't think there was too much util supporting him at that point, because you saw that when he's popping out towards these smokes, he's just face-to-face inside the smoke as well and just reacting well. And that was the highlight that we're mentioning here to Okeanos, an opportunity for him to pop off. And we had a taste of it going through the mid-season cup. But the thing is, it's also a player that's been grinding in that scene for like a very long time, back in like 2022, I'd like to say. And he's had opportunities to maybe play for some free agent teams that almost could have been, you know, scouted out and picked up and have an opportunity to play for a signed team. But unfortunately, like, there was other players that showed up at the same time, and everybody's really trying to find their groove and find a team, and Okeanos just fell short in terms of getting picked up. And this is a great opportunity to prove his point here that he belongs in the scene. And with those type of shots, you got to keep an eye on him.
100%. This is an important round early in this day number 3 of week 1 of stage 2. Just the 3-2 count, but we've got ultimates at the ready for both sides here, and TSM kind of striking out on their first gun round. Now have to really consider what tools are available here and how do we want to try to, you know, ipso facto deny this Blinn setup, which has been super patient. I mean, you have to think at a certain point, TSM are like, wait, I mean, how are they still fighting back here? We have thrown the kitchen sink at them in a couple of different offenses, and Blinn is still around nearby to contest us on these spike plants? That's got to feel weird.
The only thing they have right now is audio contact and not visual contact of how many players are currently playing on these sites. But let's hold that thought. There might be some aggression now down towards this short A side and maybe try to activate a showstopper if they find some players close. But it's very quiet, which is a great start though for Blinn. This is great information for them to know that there's not going to be an aggressive or a strong default and a hold towards the A side. So it's going to have Blinn ready here towards B, which is why you're seeing them jiggle spot a lot here towards long B, jumping towards the back of the site, just trying to delay as much as they could with Monsi in the back of the site with the Thrash and also these walls that could come up here from Spaz.
Well, TSM not being revealed by that opening knife are now making their intentions known over towards Hookah, poised on an island. As Blinn looked for some shower control and they say no one home. Okay, time for us to rotate back over. Is there some spidey senses tingling here? Mike is looking to get the orbital strike, poised. Tries to spam it out, but a bit awry in terms of actually locking it in. And a follow-up knife has been thrown towards Hookah, and that has stopped TSM from hitting. So now all of a sudden, we're at 40 seconds here, Vance, and there's been no ground taken by TSM yet.
And right now they were just trying to deny that orb by Mikey so they could TP across and go. But now you're just trying to make noise everywhere. There's the dink.
Oh, the showstopper just a touch better. Boys, not going to be happy about that one. Oh, but Spaz, same can be said for him. Had Sim dead to rights, you would have thought, but trade comes through. Now you've got TSM on towards B. Thrash at the ready. Orbital strike also at the ready for the defense. Just comes down to, do they get a read on where this TSM setup is?
And the orbital strike was not used here to delay, so they're going to have to use it for a retake. They're just going to have to find information where it's coming from first, and there it is on the main site.
Well, good trade for Mikey. Sim just nearly falls off the high ground. Not quite able to fully get to safety, though. Thrash also gets a read. 2 players detained on the corner. Can they shrug it off in time? Only one can. It's just down to GMD. The Mosh zoning it out. GMD has to go, has to check. Mikey holding over the top. First shots are good, but the defuse is in. Even though GMD does get the double, Blinn find their fourth.
They had to count on a Proto to come up huge here to save his 2 teammates, because both of them getting caught out by the back of the Thrash is not a good luck for TSM on the pulse plan, especially when it comes down to they threw the Thrash behind the orbital strike, yet Blinn cannot follow behind the orbital strike because it's their own orbital strike and they don't want to get team damage. So there was a great opportunity for a Proto to at least just shoot down that Thrash. And when they missed it, probably was caught in a reload or something and couldn't shoot it on time. He had to come up with a hero play and he couldn't. And unfortunately, you see this unravel towards the end at a disadvantage of TSM. But a great chess match, a good fake that started things off towards this A side, baited out the showstopper. But TSM just couldn't hold because of that Thrash. Beautifully done here from Monsi. And this is going to put them back in a half buy. And a showstopper to try to open things up.
That was bold. Operator trying to make its way through the smoke. Not going to work out. Orbital strike also tallies up a second elimination. And Sim says, thank you very much. And if you're not familiar with watching TSM or Sim play, you should at least be made aware that him with an operator in hand is nothing to be taken lightly. Although this round looks like it'll go to a pretty anticlimactic finish. 5v3 and 2 defenders not really interested in giving this a go. So maybe Teague looking for an exit or 2. At best, I would say at this point.
Try to make it expensive, try to save the op if it was still there. Right now, their economy is still pretty good, but no mistakes are being shown here for TSM. No over-aggression, no overextension for them. Since this timeout, the only thing they want to do is to find their footing, making sure that they could score at least a 3rd point on the board, and they will do so. And them chasing for kills, it's not the right play because their economy is also very low. The good news is that all 5 of them will be able to stay alive, and look at the amount of damage that they've taken here. Not too much, right? Maybe you won't even upgrade armor for 7 because he's pretty close for a small shield in terms of health, but he'll still do it. He'll still pay the 1,000 credits to get the full thing. But TSM looked pretty good on the execution. They took 2 ults to do that. So now they have the op in hand, though, for Sim on the attack, which is something hard to do. You won't be able to create too much space. So you're looking for this pick here against potentially Okeanos. You want to have them both duel together.
Yep, but to say, likely, you'd have to think for TSM, this is about playing for picks. See if you can get Sim something. And maybe, like you said, the 1v1, can you sniff out where Okeanos is? Although the intention for Sim is to actually take away the angles here in Hookah. Does Spaz get antsy? Live up to his namesake. Oh, maybe he does, and sure does. So there it is. The initial kill goes the way of TSM. Defense trying to frantically rotate, but TSM have not used that as an immediate go call anywhere. They're just using it now to play a 5v4.
Especially the knife that only catches a proto. They're just thinking this is a lurk coming out from the Viper. There's still the Sky walking out towards Showers. They're probably going to have to start making a play. With this dog coming out at the minute mark, taking control of Long B, moving up, TPing across is going to be a huge play right now. They just hurt the op towards B, but he's actually pinned out. 7's pin inside Hookah needs help.
Well, there's a little bit of a feel out here from Blinn, maybe trying to take one extra step forward. Monzi has gotten up on the ledge. Paint Shell's trying to get him a little bit further forward, and he's cleared the angle off. So now all of a sudden, hold on, this double stack towards Showers could work out great, but Poised reads the threat beautifully, backs away, values his life, and now it's just a full flood from the front with smoke to help support.
And he got the info that there were 2 players inside Showers, so TSM will be ready for this one. Lots of mollies coming through. They get the spam through the smoke to get the pick on the Teague, and now it's going to be a clean plant, unless Mikey has something to say, and there you go. With 4 versus 1 towards the end, nothing that Okeanos could do with this operator, and he's getting hunted down this time, and a good call to come through. A proto with the frag, and now decided that he should go double up because he's only got the Guardian, and he's got to keep the Guardian.
Insert the Emperor meme. Do it. Bring us double ops.
You saw these pings coming out towards Sands, though, right? So after Spaz got picked off, this is a call for them to say, hey, they're actually trying to get a lot of space here, and we're giving that a lot right now. And not being posted in the very beginning to watch that angle was proven to be detrimental on how they're holding the defensive side. And I think they might want to try to change that this time around.
Yeah, I like that call. And I think there's another moment here where, you know, if you're Blinn, you know, it's one of those things of if Spaz just doesn't take one extra step and he holds that Hookah angle, maybe that kill goes his way. Like, it's just, there's been very small differences of how these 2 teams have played these comps out to this point. Dizzy on the way in, a couple of shots trying to deny it, but the Viper of Spaz will get out of the way, and Sim will hold this angle pretty nicely. This is a powerful position for TSM to use as a setup point.
100%. When they already saw the Dizzy that got contact and dropped out, you heard the instant counter Dizzy coming out from the defensive side of Blinn all the way up towards Long B. So they know that there's at least 2 players now stuck on the left side of this B site, forcing now Teague to move over and help out. And he doesn't really have a knife to throw yet to find early information to how many players are inside Hookah. And they're actually, for TSM side, 4 players about to move in there.
A little bit of a weapon swap. Sim looks like he wants to maybe burst his way on in towards site. There's the Dizzy, there's the blast pack. So, yep, we're already in. Here we go. Now it's just down to clearing out this backside of B. So far, so good. 7 finds the opener. They do not expect Monzi, though. So the trade is good. 4v4. Defense still rotating over, but the spike is down. Lots of time to play with here for Blinn. Don't have to rush anything. We're on the flip side. TSM gonna get caught here as Blinn starts to collapse on the site. It's Teague for a couple and Poised. Well, not much he can do besides try to save the op.
And that's where it got dangerous, right? Whenever you had to pivot back from Blinn, they had 1 player moving out here towards Long B, and maybe that should have been a call. After that Dizzy got thrown, and they never really peeked out towards the window, they don't really know if Monzi actually rotated back and fell back towards the elbow, or if he took an aggressive control down towards Octagon so they could double it up. And that's, unfortunately, the demise of TSM, not going for a clean split into the B site, so they leave Monzi unaccounted, and he's able to score big here to allow T to get a double backstab on top of that. And TSM needs to add a little bit more into understanding where these players could be. Again, you're playing agents that really can't find immediate information unless you're going for double flashes for the Dizzy to get peaks or information. And as soon as that happens, though, you still have to make sure that you're clearing those corners and account to who's still around the map.
Yep.
When you heard that Dizzy being thrown at the beginning of the round, you should have figured out where Monty could have been.
And just for what it's worth, to speak positively on the other side here, that's a great setup from Blinn, knowing not to overstay or channel. Monzi gets one, backs off, then all of a sudden Teague from another side. Great stuff. Mosh over the top here this time for the offense. Does get some control over towards Showers. Thrasher also being used to go quickly here for TSM. The dog to follow. Trailblazers not going to find too much, though. And look at this. Blinn's going to step up a little bit here. Try to contest the issue just a touch. The flip side of the teleport working out nicely, and the pinch is perfect.
So nice.
3-for-1 the exchange, and now we have a 4v2.
That is so beautiful. We'll have a team deathmatch now to try to get the spike back.
Oh, and then it's 2-for-2 exchange. Don't rule Sim out of these situations. It would be a technical 1v3. Swaps the weapon back and does blast pack back to safety. Spike was not collected in that effort, though. So things kind of reset here. Plenty of time on the clock for Sim to use, and this smoke will delay the angle a little while longer.
And this is very good. The Satchels also was trying to see if Okeanos was going to try to swing out and shoot him. So Sim, unfortunately, not getting shot at, can't really find the information of where both players could be, but knows for sure there's at least one watching this spike.
Yeah. This is all about
30 seconds left.
sheer timing. If he can get the first cleanly, maybe a chance to snap onto the second. Here's the shoulder peek. Does get the first. Now it's just down, does he get the isolation onto Okeanos? Paint shells are decent, but Okeanos' shot just a touch better. And Blinn will save the round, go 6-4 as we head to round 11.
And I love the proactiveness that came out from Blinn. So they canceled the dog coming through from TSN by throwing a molly on the ground. They used more utility to keep them inside Showers. And on top of that, both players from B, they threw a snake bite at the doorway so nobody could retreat because they'll get vulnerable. They threw the Dizzy in, and then they just crunched on both sides. And it worked out very well, at least, to get the 3 players down of TSM. You needed some heroic plays. It almost worked out there for Sim. We mentioned him that he could be a star fragger for TSM, but unfortunately was not good enough to play against here Okeanos. And thankfully that just happened. I mean, with the Viper nerfs, you can't really pick it up in the end. So thankfully he picked it up at the right moment before the barriers came up to at least throw something to try to delay here into Showers.
A little finesse game not gone right there for Spaz, trying to get that on top of the door, but all things told, nothing really hurt, nothing really gained nor lost. Viper's Pit, the big obstacle through mid. Mike, with an orbital strike, can play back at A if he wants to and just lock down Showers, which means there should be Teague mostly leaning towards getting over towards B. But the operator's the first thing to come through, and Okeanos will miss. A couple of shots through the wall, well placed. Actually takes him down to pretty tragic HP, and Sim will back up, and surely Poise will come to heal him up.
And both raises at that. The Dizzy used as a bait so that Sim could try to swing out and almost got him. And yeah, the advantage that you'll get the heal coming out from Poise, and unfortunately for Blinn, they're not playing a comp that could actually top up their teammates.
Yeah.
But now it's going to be a 5-person flood inside this A site, which is fine. Proto does have a pit to work with himself. You might get chaotic here, Shift.
Oh, what a good reactive molly, but oh, boy, still comes through, finds the first. Proto actually slips through the net and gets a second somehow. That's on the Spaz, so now the site is wide open for TSM to take this thing back, and that is a deep, deep pit. 12 seconds left in the clock. Wingman gets to work for the plant. Trailblazer makes sure no one's on the flank, and I just don't know if you're Blinn, how you can test this, and the answer is you don't.
Yep, exactly. After even doing the due diligence for TSM to dog back towards short A, all of the focus was happening here towards the spawn right after realizing that nobody TP, nobody flanked, and very well done for TSM towards the end, just to get those picks coming in towards this A site. Another time where Showers is getting a lot of good results out of TSM's hits, and it really comes down to a little bit more teamwork that you need to come in for the other side. But they couldn't do the same type of Showers crunch because you were so committed to try to get this pit towards this short A side and funnel players towards the B side with the op. It worked out. They actually did walk into Hookah, speaking of TSM, but unfortunately Okeanos couldn't score that first blood and only did some wallbang damage, which allowed TSM to work the map a little bit more and understand where the weak side was because of that pit that they had played against.
That's just one of those rounds that Blinn's going to go back and look at again and go like, 99 times out of 100, we probably stopped that hit from happening. It's just a silly moment where 2 players get through the molly. The timing of the molly was great and flat out. Just could not land the shots. So now a final round of the half, which we'll see an orbital strike on one side, a showstopper on the other, maybe a KO ult from Teague, if he can find himself an orb or a pick. And it looks like they are playing maybe for the orb here. Aggressive stack over towards Shower. Okeanos trying for something through the middle of the map. Not going to work out. The chase is on, though, with a showstopper. That comes up empty. And hold on a second. Sim, he's a little bit caught. Orbital strike gets placed. That separates the hit from TSM. It's a free first blood for Blinn.
Biggest knife that was so good there for Teague.
And there it is. KO all earned and immediately spent. Pressure on for TSM, but largely swatted back. It looks like this may stay, as Seven is stuck currently inside a hookah, and Poised has to try to make a route through Showers, try to open up different space.
You already have that feeling that somebody's going to be flanking from behind, so Teague's already watching it. Has the advantage of the angle. Seven gets a nice pick to start things off, though. But at 34 HP, going to be very difficult to clutch this.
Denies the Dizzy, trying to bait out some sort of a peek, but the wingman will come through. Poor buddy. It's just a little wingman on wingman action here, and the fragment timing will also stop any further plants from coming through. 30 seconds on the clock for the 1v3. Spaz still hasn't rotated, by the way.
Left.
So maybe a chance for Seven to isolate this, but he hasn't seen what he wants, which is Teague over through Showers, and it'll be a 7-5 half for the Pirates. A really close one, all things told, though.
And once again, a great crossfire setup and discipline being shown by Blinn on that 3 versus 1. You mentioned there was no TP coming through yet because they were afraid of that TP coming out from that Gecko, from Seven through the A site to B. And you know that Seven has the firepower that it takes here to win these clutches. And now you're forcing to peek out, and then you get the win. This is a great start now for Blinn. 7 rounds on the defensive side, and TSM's turn now to play the defense. To start things off, 3 ghosts on their end. A Proto using the Orban wall to his advantage. They're actually leaning a lot here towards this B side to try to fight the Blinn default, who also seems to be aiming towards the B side control.
Other little fun fact for all of you Blinn supporters out there, you're happy to see a 7-5 half because technically speaking, based on the last couple of months of play, they win 70% of their offenses. So got to be feeling pretty decent about your chances to close out your map pick here, pending the stats do hold, which may not be the case. We're dealing with 2 different types of competition when you talk about CVAL versus Challengers. TSM will be mostly scouted out by this knife, but not baited into doing too much besides one little shoulder check. That's all that Poise needs. And also had seen over towards Hookah, which Sim collects on. No worries for the first blood.
They get to heal on top of that, too, and that's going to force Blinn just to fall back. And they seem to be wanting to cut noise, just waiting for the timing for the orb to come back down so they can start walking up and play the contact. Somebody has to activate because they're at the disadvantage. And it's Spaz to start things off to try to scout towards this A site. TSM still has 3 bodies there because they're feeling a last-second TP if the 2 players of TSM could actually delay well enough here towards this B site.
A little bit of utility for Blinn shown over towards A, just trying to pull the defense, which it's successful in doing to this point. Elbow for Seven, back a sight for Proto.
30 seconds left.
And it'll be Monzi, be one of the first ones forward. Smoke blocks things off, but Seven does catch one on the cross. Alerts Proto that he is in a little bit of trouble. Stays alive nicely. Dizzy trying to flush out the backside of the site, and that is decent, at least to start for Blinn. But Proto gets 2, and the spike carrier gets eliminated in the process. So now all of a sudden, Seven can get activated over towards Elbow. He still has the Disney picked back up again, and here comes TSM off the backside of a beautiful flash to finish off the first round of the second half.
That's what we need, is some players to hold the delay here towards this B site. Either it's with utility or either it's with their bodies. Because at that point, if they actually went for jiggle peaks and they actually caught Blinn off guard here out in the open towards B, they still had a mosh to throw and to deny and the wall to come up, which would have forced the TP towards the A site where TSM finally has a stronghold. But as Blinn played the contact within this B site and then finally got the attempt to try to plant towards the back of the B site, well, you needed the bodies to shoot. And Proto, we mentioned it, he's been feeling good lately, and he has some 2 nice right-click classic rounds to go in the chest of 2 opponents and get the round here for TSM and a pistol. A chance for them to catch up in their bonus against Blinn.
Knife deep sent. We'll have an opportunity for Blinn to take an extra step over towards Zuka, but it's being watched by Poise up top. And I mean, if you don't succeed at first, try again, apparently. And that'll be enough likely for TSM to very calmly put away this round, pending any antics out of maybe Teague and his sheriff.
And Poise wants more. Trying to get him up here to those Seekers as soon as possible. There's some damage that's been done, and there's a weapon upgrade too towards the site. He can TP back towards A and try to get a plant, but he is getting chased down. Well, not anymore. Has that opportunity, has the timing to build old plant, so that's the silver line now with 9 HP remaining.
Okay. The stage has been set. Fresh reload. 6 shots, 3 opponents, and okay, why do I even buy?
And 0 health.
Yeah, well, you know, you always have to sell the dream, Van Silly. You always have to sell the dream.
Of course. Play-by-play 101. But in the end, yes, it still looked pretty good. You were chasing for these kills. You have strong weapons. And as I mentioned before, that was like, what, 3 kills and a death for Poise? It should be very, very close right now to Seekers. 3 away from getting that available here. So still a decent bonus round that they could have. They have 2 other Bulldogs and a Vandal to work with. Against here, a full buy. Thanks to the plant coming through from Teague and the bonus that they've gotten in the last few rounds. They'll have to come down to see where they want to work the map here. So once again, they dropped the spike early. So you're working this map very slowly for Blinn. Trying to see where the aggression's going to be coming through. It's towards short to start.
And the Hero Vandal almost to find first blood. Not quite. And then the knife comes through, and that's an immediate call to retreat. And actually, not fully retreat. It's just change our focus. I mean, TSM still playing very heavy-handed over towards B long. Maybe an exit if they need to through the teleporter, but this stack very well could catch Blinn a bit off guard. They don't really have the tools to clear it at the moment.
The good news is that the knife was thrown here towards long B, and a Proto was able to avoid that. So for them, they have a perfect off angle for a double setup towards the TP, and Teague looked like he was looking towards the radar. Almost got caught by Sim, and lucky to him, Sim couldn't get the sliver peek against his opponent, and that's going to reset things for both players, both teams. The element of surprise for TSM is now gone.
Or is it?
Yeah, well, surprise there towards Spice.
GFD also saw the spike down, so he'll molly it just to make sure there is maybe a little bit extra space for him to exit. But this is starting to look pretty trepidatious here for the Blinn Pirates. Got to re-clear out a lot of space before you can look at the A zone. So there's the boom bot spent just to get back in towards mid. Spaz dealt with by GMD on the corner, and he says thanks for the upgrade. Uh-oh, not good news here for Blinn. TSM trying to hold the ground off. Here has to come the hit. Wingman trying to get involved from the defensive side. GMD isolated, and wait a second, a 7 drops. Blinn should have a pretty free plant here.
Trying to delay if they can. Just did. Pain Shells got the Wingman. 2 versus 4 for TSM. Great bonus. No time left.
1 enemy remaining.
Oh, and they try to exit the teleporter. Not quite. Okeanos tries to avoid the explosive Semtex of both the paint shells and the blast pack, and at least for now you'll survive. But that small little window looked like it was just a crack in the armor, almost opened up to a pullback, but TSM win the bonus, and now they have a huge economical advantage in this half.
And that's, again, the fragging IGL. Remember, last stage, it was actually Poise, the one that was coined and given the responsibility of being the IGL for the team, but that changed a little bit towards that mid-season cup towards the end, and GMD now resuming these roles of the IGL, and moving around and understanding the timings to get these picks and get his teammates, his players, rotated at the right spots. So great picks to come through, great deniability off the spike attempt to get plotted towards the A site. And despite Okeanos staying alive, that's okay for TSM, because remember, they had a much lower buy in their bonus, and that allows for them to upgrade into full Vandals, as you saw before we got into the timeout. And this is a bankroll right now for TSM continuing on to the second half.
I mean, you could ship most of this money off to some offshore accounts if you wanted to. Enjoy your summer, friends. Yeah, no, this is one of those things, again, it's just the differences between a round going your way and it just kind of slipping through your fingers has been so minimal, and there is a level of, at least from my personal reaction, just stark impressiveness that we're getting this out of 2 teams that we really, again, weren't 100% sure what we were going to get, because TSM, same roster on paper, and I like to use the phrase, didn't live up to their potential in what we saw in stage 1. Everything's in front of you now. We're clean slate, mid-season cup. Yeah, it went okay, not great, not bad. But you have to show something, and they have. But at the same front, Blinn, the guys that came through promotion, played a really good team in their MSC, and here they are. Again, small opportunities as TSM will be tested, but Poise stays away just inside the smoke. Blinn don't get the
no.
clearance, and the full flood with Stingers doesn't really work out as intended.
Until Monzi comes in with a drive-by with a Stinger and gets a double kill because players are vulnerable just by the window. Good plant, at least a 2 versus 3. Thrash available.
But Flash coming out. Yeah. Oh, Spaz, wait a second. Oh, does get a little bit of a collat. Almost a chance to reset versus 7, but a moment of second guess in terms of where he was coming from. And what looked to be just poised, winning the round single-handedly, has to come down a little bit of late-game heroics there for 7.
And that timeout was supposed to be for the next round, not for this one here. And good for Blinn to actually get some great value off the half buy, the plant for more money, and also a Thrash available for that too, so they could actually have a better plan behind what they had here. And this, unfortunately, a small mistake coming out from Blinn. You saw that Poise. The double flash was perfect coming through here from Lin Esports, but the Dizzy that tags Poise, nobody put that into account, and Poise got a free 3K until you almost had heroics coming out from Spaz by lining up some players. But in the end, you stop the bleeding, you could breathe, TSM gets the round, Seekers available for Poise, 2 ults as we just mentioned for Blinn. They could pop very quickly, especially with the knife coming out from Showers for early control on this side.
You also keep in mind the operator out for TSM and Sim means that Sands will be completely owned by TSM. 3-man stack deep in the site. It does look like TSM are going to play as like a let them null command, let them thrash, and then we'll retake. And they're going to get both ults immediately. So when he terms of effectiveness and efficiency, Blinn comes up relatively empty here with these ults.
Yeah, and even if Thrash went all the way back towards spawn, it's going to be hard to be picked up at this time. Now they're flashing to fight it at the same time. Tap it to try to delay. Dropping the spike to this is going to waste a lot of time because it gave it to the wingman, and the wingman is going to waste a couple of 1-2 seconds so that he could get his own plant. Give me a chance now for TSM to come back.
Brother, that is a stupid shot from Sim and earns himself the showstopper for a second. Oh, and Monzi's been red. Tries to peek, and Sim just does not care about the blue goo on the screen. Teague, last one left, and it's Sim for 4. TSM up to double digits.
And that was a quick decision being done by TSM. Sim says, give me the rifle, let me showstopper entry because I got the pick, and then we'll just go behind the Seekers and trade off. And even 7 pushing through behind, supporting his teammate and getting a frag himself with the operator. Didn't give a chance for Blinn to set up on the pulse fight. Look at the util coming through. Seekers with the Dizzy, Mosh coming through, U-Haul full control, and a 4K capitalized by Sim on the retake. And again, it's just that split second to drop the spike, to give it to the wingman to plant. It gave a chance for TSM to take advantage of that split second and just catch Blinn into the off positions, caught out in the open, and now take a 3-point lead.
It is another one of those moments that if you see that gunfight from Sim's point of view, that guy's sniffing pixels to find the headshot on the entry. Unreal stuff, man. Tight game still continues, but this is starting to look a little murky for Blinn as they find themselves with just a Guardian, a couple of Sheriffs, and a Bulldog against the full rifling potential and the Uncle Pennybags economy of TSM.
Yeah, they don't have their offshore accounts here for Blinn so far. But they are pirates. You can try to steal the loot later on now in their eco.
No.
I mean, you started it. You started
I
it.
know. It's I'm actually more upset that I didn't even see the potential for that wordplay.
But at least Blinn working together, and the silver lining at least here, well, there you go, Shift, is that they were able to get value out of their short buy so far.
Well, honestly, I was about to say if they can keep Sim behind the smoke, this is actually going to feel like a 4v2 because there's really no one else on site that can contest unless the operator hits, which it does at least initially, but the follow-up trade is just as quick. So 4v3 post-plant situation, and you have to clear halls. You have to. There's no way about it. Wingman's going to be out first. It does get a read on the player nearby. There's the Dizzy over the top, but Mike doesn't care. 7 now has to snap around. Finds the first, no problem. Connects on Monzi before he can get out of dodge. 7, the hero. For what would be a 1v4, but this is an issue. Yep, doesn't know where the rest of Blinn are, and a Thrifty comes through to save the Pirates for now.
And you just hate yourself for that as well. For 7, you saw him look towards the ground and try to right-click it to get the wingman out. But because the wingman went towards U-Haul to try to clear towards that U-Haul, it should have worked because it did get the clap onto Mike. They got the Dizzy on the blind, but somehow Mikey was able to get a share shot blinded to get the kill onto, I think that was GMD running in the front. So that's just unfortunate, and we mentioned it. In these lower buys, Blinn Esports are finding success. And they have done so by winning that Thrifty against TSM and giving them a chance to fight here in the second half. Looking healthy in economy, looking healthy in the weapons, and looking healthy in the ults as they're looking for the setup towards the B side. A lineup coming through with the molly of this Brimstone just to try to clear the space.
Stopper not as deep maybe as you were hoping for. Still maybe a chance to clear out the Octagon, but GMT goes completely unguarded. Unreal. Just tucks himself in a corner, avoids the entire hit, and then single-handedly shuts it down. Spaz will only get one, and just when you thought Blinn was cooking, well, restaurant's closed.
The ship is sinking. But no, unfortunately here for TSM, they did the same playbook, kind of like what Blim did. And I criticized TSM for that as well. When they took a lot of pressure towards Hookah and they tried to go for the execute, I praised how Blinn was able to move towards the Octagon and take control of that area. And when you don't have that split coming through, then you see the punishment that came across, and TSM did exactly the same thing this time around. You did have some sort of a late lurk coming out from Spaz, but it was too little too late here to come out towards the long B, and TSM had the perfect read to deny Blinn on these ults.
And now you essentially, if you're the Pirates, you have to find a way to thrifty again. Well, you don't have to, but otherwise you're looking at overtime.
So you'd like to.
Yeah, you'd like to. It's high on the list of things you'd love to see if you're a Blue Pirate fan. I'll put it that way.
And they're going to try it. Again, a death ball that's been working successfully, with Stingers a couple of rounds ago, with the Laura Bai 2 rounds ago with the Sheriff entries, and now this time around, 2 hero rifles from Spaz and Okeanos, followed behind by pistols. And they're thunderfooting here towards Octagon.
He does get denied, and the snake bite. So well placed. Poise takes advantage of it completely. 4 in the round, and a chance, if he wants to get greedy, for the ace.
Got greedy.
And Mike read it. He's like, I've seen this picture once or twice before. Good mosh. Mike has to step through it, and the double swing will be good for TSM to finish off the round. Yeah, great reactive snake bite coming out of Proto, though. Just makes everyone vulnerable. Easy lineups for Poise.
Yeah, and that's why you saw in the execution as well for Blinn that what you need for potency to make sure you can entry these sites is to follow with a flash with that Dizzy. And you saw as soon as that Dizzy came through in the POV of these players, look at what came across. It was a molly that went towards the cubby instead of a flash to try to make sure they could try to get scans across players and a hope for an entry to get at least more bodies down on TSM's side. But at least they got the plant down, so we'll take that and we'll force the timeout to try to play into this overtime for Blinn. But I was going to mention there was some great control for Poise. Even though that 4K came through, I thought he was going to reload and just stay alive so that somebody else could pick up the kill because he already had his Seekers coming through. But he hunted down for that kill. He wanted it. And it's, you know what? At least we contain it on that side. We know where that player is. We don't allow here Mikey to get the element of surprise on that 1 versus 3. And then somebody else picked up the kill, which was 7. Monty looks like he has something to say here.
I was about to say, there's a little bit of consideration going on right now. And these are games that for these guys in particular, it's just like, golly, we're right there. We're right in it with these guys. Like, you have to be feeling at a certain point that this map should have been very winnable. And it's not unwinnable. It's not losable. You can still force an OT here. And there's still a lot of life in the lungs for Blinn, especially with how they've played. It just comes down to the little things. And a lot of it has happened in the first moment of contest. Like, I'll be really curious to see what the first blood tally is going to look like by the end of this map, because it does feel like TSM have come away first blood victors more often than not.
Totally agreed at this point here, especially on the defensive side.
Let's see how it goes.
But Blinn, again, they've had some opportunities, some flash in the pan that punished some small mistakes that came through from TSM that almost made it very doable for their attack side. But for them, if they want to try to bring this into overtime, they have to be cleaner on the macro. Look, this push coming out towards the spawn, and that's how it starts. Yeah, great patience once again.
It's been something we've commented and praised a bunch for Blinn. This time it works out very nicely for them here in round number 21.
Right there.
Hit looking to stack up over towards that front side at A. Maybe just waiting for the juice to put the wall back up and the smokes to drop, and there goes one. The other was considered for a moment. Dizzy's going to be spent through first, and there we go. Orbital Strike used to push this off, though, so TSM delaying a little while longer. Rotations on the way in from Sands. So if you're Blinn, whatever this hit has to be, it needs to be convincing because it's starting to collapse.
And you use the Orbital Strike to deny the plant as well. So now with the Thrash, everybody's going to focus on this. This double play is going to be huge.
All first 1-for-1 trade. Threat now known. Seekers are out from back. That's going to find a lot of value, but Fragment holds off a lot of this TSM pinch, and now all of a sudden the hit from the front comes out convincing for Blinn. A chance to plant, and they're going to plant on the deep backside of the defensive part of this A zone. Shrugged off for a moment, but Okeanos on the corner, going to be the next one up. Headshots in for the first, and he will find 4 in the round. Beautiful from Okeanos to help Blinn get onto site.
These Razors are finding a lot of value so far in these post-plant situations. Okeanos with the second 4K in this map, while Sim has one of his own on the retake for TSM in this half. That said, though, there was a great attempt to try to make it through and try to get that backstab, but somehow, I think that was Okeanos fully blinded at the APC, got that kill at triple, which didn't allow here TSM to deny any type of aggressive pushes out of Blinn from the front end so that the back end couldn't get the backstab. So unfortunately there for TSM, well done for Blinn. Under the pressure to still react well. To salvage around here on this map of Bind. Slow hit as they heard here the pit coming out towards short A. It's not as deep for a Proto, but you could definitely see it here. They're moving around the sites a bit. Maybe if there's nobody controlling these orbs, they could allow here Monsi to get a thrash to counter towards the short A pit.
Toxin screen poisons off.
This is such a tough problem for Blinn to deal with. And this is one of those rounds where, again, that word composure comes into play. Are you too afraid of making a mistake
right here
that you play it too passively? With one major obstacle in front of you, Knife clears out Hookah. Again, very passive. They don't know exactly what's on site over at B. Dizzy's going to get recollected, but this stack over towards Showers. Wait, can they actually sneak through some of this? There's a crossfire setup, but GMD's got his molly out. And hold on a second, Poised almost misses a window to read this hit, but still finds first blood. 5v4. Proto trying to sniff out anyone else on site, and as he gets out of his own pit, finds a second. More jump right in front, and Proto's good for the equal task of finding another trade. Just down to Mike. 1v4 not going to happen at TSM. Will take away Blinn's map selection at a 13-9 count.
A run and gun to finish round 2 from GMD, but yeah, it looked like they were going to slip through the net, but it just came down to simple jump spawning coming from GMD, and then the call on the protocols after. And a Proto, speaking of a protocols, just came out of that pit and got rid of Okeanos towards U-Haul. So perfect read, they got everything done, and they score the first map now for TSM.
Huge. I mean, this was a really tight game of Valorant between these two squads, but, you know, for a team in Blinn who has been running this composition for a while, pretty much since they've been playing in this competitive season, doesn't work out for them the same way that it often had, which had been on their offensive side. Lots of praise, though, to TSM, and I'd be really curious to see what that first blood count looks like. Final thoughts from you, fans, before we're going to break real quick.
Yeah, if anything, it's great initiator plays, even though it's an unorthodox comp. If you're looking at TSM side, it's something that's more basic these days. It's been used a lot now. It's probably one of the best comps you currently see now with 100 Thieves running that, with G2 getting great victories in Masters, and why TSM's running that as well. But at least I like that Blinn put up a good fight, and it shows that it's going to be a very competitive series so far.
I agree. Should be more of the same for map number 2, but we'll step away for a brief break, come back, break things down, look at the numbers, look at the stats, and then set up map number 2. Don't go far. VALORANT Challengers returns after this.
I want to say Breeze, like there's like that stuff under B, but I don't think it is because there's like green stuff on top, so I'm probably wrong. But Breeze, final answer.
Is this Icebox, and this is towards A?
So this is Bind Heaven when you look into the glass paneling behind it.
Icebox on like a site.
It's got to be like Icebox, but I don't think it is Icebox. But I'll say it's Icebox. I would just say towards A side. I know I'm wrong.
Well, I feel like this is like either Bind or Icebox. Oh, yeah, I'd say that. I said Icebox. A side window.
Is this Bind Teleporter? I think it's somewhere on Bind for sure. I'm gonna have to go with Bind Teleporter.
It's Bind, no? It's right outside of Heaven on Bind.
This is split outside A main on the blue wall.
Oh man, the crown on the teacup reveals this is coffee shop next to like the train outside split A.
Oh, this one's definitely split somewhere in like defender spawn.
That's on split. It's the coffee shop outside of A.
This is split A main.
I think it's split A site if I'm not mistaken.
It's definitely Sunset. That changed my pick. It's Sunset, but I have no clue where it is.
Pretty sure this is Sunset. I think CT spawn. There's like the windows, I think, right? Or there's like stuff in front. I could be wrong.
I'm getting Sunset vibes, but I have no idea where it'd be on Sunset.
I feel like T spawn, like Sunset, like a shop.
Oh, this is Sunset, and this is definitely an attacker spawn. I always be looking in here.
Also on split, I think in the defender spawn, right? I think.
I'm gonna go Breeze. It's Breeze bottom mid somewhere. Maybe.
I'm gonna have to go with Sunset. I'll go with outside B site.
I don't even really have a guess, but I'll take a shot in the dark. It's on Lotus.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.
Peace.